Morning, everybody. It's Sunday, the 25th of May. It's about 10:30. I don't normally run at this time of the morning, but it's heavy rain earlier, so I piped out. Now the rain cloud seeds have gone away, so I decided to do a short run, 5 or 6 k's or whatever. So here we go. I've got a route in mind, so out and back to here. Any run's better than no run. Today I'm going to talk to you about the enhanced games and offer my 2 cents worth on that subject. Now, if you haven't heard of the enhanced games, I'll give you a very quick thumbnail rundown. I should say at the beginning, just for clarity, that I don't know any of the people associated with these enhanced games, and all that I know about them is what I've read in the newspaper. Now, the enhanced games are a sort of mini Olympic Games that have been held in Las Vegas. Hello. Thank you. And they're being put on by some bloke whose name I can't remember. But according to the article in the Sydney Morning Herald, he's an Australian. And I don't know whether he's the money man or just the sports carnival organiser. And that doesn't really matter all that much. They're called the enhanced games because everybody that participates, no, that's not correct. Many of the participants will have been using performance enhancing substances of some sort. Now, I say many because clean, non-doping, non-cheating, if you want to put it that way, athletes are invited to attend. How many would bother and why you would bother, I don't know. Unless you were in the hope that you would win and therefore prove that cheats never prosper. But if you participate and you're an Australian athlete, Mark Abib, A-R-B-I-B, who is, I think, the head of the Australian Sports Commission, who stole out the government money to various sports to fund their programs, has very clearly warned you not to do so, and it would place your future sporting career in jeopardy, he has said. So, these are going to be mini Olympics because they're only going to involve swimming, running and weightlifting. And one of the people who is the public face of these events, at least in Australia, is a bloke called James Magnuson. Now again, I don't know him. Never met him. I believe he's a swum at the Olympics for Australia, won some medals, and may have even held some records. And he has, in the past, certainly spoken out about doping and his views on it. But perhaps now that he needs to top up the retirement fund or something, he's got a different point of view. How these enhanced games work, as I understand, is that the people who participate will get an appearance fee, which I believe is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. If they break a record, they get a bonus, which is alleged to be $1 million or more. So there, the basic outline of how these games work. Whether they're a one-off thing, and then people go, all right, that was a bit of fun, made some money, but that's a bit stupid, we don't want to do it again, or something else. I expect there'll be TV rights and all that sort of hoopla. So maybe they'll become a regular thing, who knows. But here are the issues as I see them. The first one is that matter of the, for want of a better word, purity of competition in sport. Now that might sound a bit naive, but we want to believe that a sporting contest is between two groups of people who are doing their best to win whatever is required in that particular sport, and they're doing that fairly. And I suppose one argument for these games is if everybody's cheating, then that's fair, because we all know we're cheats. But we rely on the honesty of the cheats to disclose everything that they've taken. But even so, I know it's a simple fact that I'm standing at the start of a parkrun event, which I know is not a race and all that, but I'm there at the start, and I know there are people who are better than me. They're younger, they're faster, they're genetically more gifted, or whatever it is that makes them run a faster time than me. There are even people in my own age group and my own gender that run faster than me. And I accept that's just the gift of nature. I don't look at them and think, is that bloke taking something? Is that woman on something? I just think we're here to run, we're here to do our best for ourselves, racing, if you like, against the clock. We're just trying to do our best. But I want to think the playing field is level. Now, of course, at the elite level, And in team sport, especially at the elite level in team sport, there are some clubs that have more money than others. There are some players that are just better than others. And so the field isn't really level. The unevenness is caused by better coaching or better ability or something like that, rather than something you've ingested that made you perform better. So that's objection number one. It just seems wrong on the principle that sport is about people competing against each other on the best of their abilities. The second point is even though all the people who are going to compete in this thing are presumably consenting adults who know what they're doing and have agreed to it, and again, supposedly it's all been done under medical supervision, there's a problem. And the problem is, we know from previous experience with prohibited substances like steroids, peptides, and whatever else, bearing in mind, I'm not a pharmacologist, I don't know anything about that stuff, but we know that long-term effects of those things on the human body are pretty awful. And how do we know this? Well, because during the height of the Cold War, those of you who are old enough to remember it, when there were two Germanys, an East and West Germany, East Germans were consistently winning at all sorts of sports. And were suspected of, and in many cases proven to have taken all sorts of banned substances that were administered under medical supervision. There was a doctor in a white coat with a stethoscope and a nurse. They made sure the syringe was clean when they injected you with whatever it was. But we know from that long-term use that the effects on the human body can be catastrophic. In the case of women, for example, young girls, they began to look more like men than women. Jaws were much squarer, bodies were more muscular, as you'd expect, that's why you take the steroids, but almost developing 5 o'clock shadows. Terrible impact on their reproductive system, to the point where sometimes it's just failed. Liver cancers, other sorts of terrible things like that, that resulted in either premature death or at the end of their career, when they were no longer good for propaganda or whatever else they're being used for, years of pain and misery and neglect from the system that used them, and when it was finished with them, spat them out. So that might be the fate of some professional sports, people in football codes. as it is, play football till you no longer can, retire, and then you're forgotten. These people were told they were doing things, the glory of their country, all that sort of stuff. And the long-term effects on them are absolutely terrible. Now you can make the argument saying, well, this person is a consenting adult, in other words, old enough to make these decisions, and they know what they're agreeing to. But the fact is, in some cases, they don't, because the people who are administering these things to them don't really know all the long-term effects. They won't know them until the long term, 10, 15, 20, maybe more years after the doping stops. And you can't help but feel then, in those cases, the test subjects, as they are just being used as guinea pigs, saying what is being done under medical supervision. Like I said, that just means there's a doctor in a white coat with a stethoscope and a nurse who makes sure that the syringe that they inject the substance into you is clean, so you don't get a secondary infection. Now, suppose what we could do is just ignore this event. And if everybody ignores it, nobody talks about it like I am, nobody watches any of the coverage and whatever, they fall flat on its face and go away. And some of you might be saying, oh, an athlete's entitled to earn a living. Yes, they are. And the idea that our athletes are poorly paid is probably true. But if you're a top athlete, elite as we use the word now, you want to think about your legacy. Legacy doesn't pay the bills. I understand that. Legacy doesn't find you a job when you're no longer looking at the black row of tiles or looking at the finish line tape or whatever it is. But do you want to be like the footballing great, and I'm sure you can name plenty of them, who played one season too long? They thought, I've still got another good season in me, and the club's willing to pay me whatever, and they have an absolute shocker. Nobody remembers the previous 10, 12 or how many seasons they had that were great. I remember that last one where we're just going through the motions, collecting the paycheck, topping up the retirement fund, whatever. So the enhanced games, as they're called, maybe they're just some sort of joke, and they'll have their moment in the sun and then they'll go away and we'd have forgotten about them. And maybe all the people who take part in them this time. I look at them in a year or so's time and think, well, I got a nice fat paycheck. But what I did was pretty dumb. I talked before about people looking for the edge with the magic shoes and the diet, supplements, all that sort of stuff. And I said, for the most part, the best thing to do is keep your money in your wallet. The best thing most people can do, I think, is just ignore it. There's nothing to do with sport in the sense that we understand it, or that I understand it, in competition that I understand it. That's all I want to say. If you have an opinion or a comment, then leave it in the comment section. Remember always, please, to comment on the content. Comment on what I've said. I don't ask you to agree with me or accept what I've said. You're entitled to a different point of view, and I'm happy to read a different point of view. When I become aware of your comment, I will respond in what I hope is appropriate. Thank you for watching. Enjoy your day. You're playing sport today. Let's hope that you and everybody else that you're playing with and against is competing on that level playing field, doing their best with the ability that they've been given and the training that they've been given by their coach. Everyone enjoys what they're doing. Thank you for watching.